Hello and welcome back to Shakesyear. We are working on Sejanus' fall, and we get to hear from Sejanus today to kick off Act 5. Huzzah! We're in Act 5. We're getting towards the end of the play. So Act 5, Scene 1, we're going to hear a little bit more about Sejanus and how much he is not falling at the moment. But yeah, the Sejanus crew is doing much better than the Agrippina crew at the moment. Like, we already had Silius die, and Cordula was arrested, and then Sabinus was set up, and then his body was thrown into the river, and his dog drowned after him, and Agrippina is like under house arrest for being a traitor, and Drusus Jr. and Nero are banished and imprisoned for being traitors. So the Agrippina crew has been reduced pretty much to just Orontius and Lepidus at this point. And they were talking in Act 4, Scene 5 about how scary the world has become, and there's no safe place for them to be. They can't even just get by on not talking to anybody because Sejanus spies are everywhere. And then they overheard some of Sejanus' crew talking that they had received all these letters, some of them saying that Tiberius was well, some saying he was sick, some saying Sejanus was doing well, some saying Sejanus had been passed over and was being knocked off his high horse, so they couldn't figure it out until Terentius came in and he was like, no, actually Sejanus is still doing well, and here I've got the proof. So, Act 5, Scene 1, we get to check in with Sejanus, and he kicks off the scene saying, "Swell, swell my joys, and faint not to declare yourselves as ample as your causes are. I did not live till now, this my first hour, wherein I see my thoughts reached by my power. But this, and gripe my wishes, great and high, the world knows only two, that's Rome and I. My roof receives me not, 'tis air I tread, and at each step I feel my advanced head knock out a star in heaven. Reared to this height, all my desires seem modest, poor, and slight, that did before sound impudent. 'Tis place, not blood, discerns the noble and the base. Is there not something more than to be Caesar? Must we rest there? It irks to have come so far, to be so near a stay. Caligula, would thou stoodst stiff, and many in our way. Winds lose their strength when they do empty fly, unmet of woods or buildings. Great fires die that want their matter to withstand them. So it is our grief, and will be our loss, to know our power shall want opposites, unless the gods, by mixing in the cause, would bless our fortune with their conquest. That were worth Sejanus' strife, durst fates but bring it forth." So this is Sejanus very much tooting his own horn. If we didn't already know that he was a puppet master who was full of himself and extremely conceited and power hungry, this is the monologue that is going to prove it. And once again, the whole thing rhymes, or at least it would have in the original pronunciation. There's a couple of them that are a little bit weird. But anyway, so we have another rhyming monologue from Sejanus where he's just like, I couldn't be happier. There's nothing else that I want. All the things that I was striving for before seem sort of ridiculous now because I already have everything. Like, I have to look for higher stuff. And he's like, you know what? I was not born noble, but I made it to this position of power because I worked my way up in the government. So nobility is not based on birth. It's based on your place in society. And then I love it. In the middle of this, he's like, could I be something even more powerful than Caesar? And if this was like a sci-fi thing, he would start looking into like witchcraft so that he could become a god. But he's like, do I have to just stop with being Caesar? Can I be even more powerful than that? But then he ruminates on the fact that Caligula is still alive. Caligula is like the one person left that stands in the way of him becoming emperor. And he's like, I wish that he was gone and anybody else that's in my way. And then at the very end, he comes to the realization that he's been enjoying the chase of this. He talks about how wind sort of dies down if it has nothing to hit against. You know, if you're just out on the open plains, the wind just goes and then eventually dies. But if you're in a city or if you're in a forest, the wind gets battered all around and it continues to be strong. So he's like, if I just make it to the top of everything, if I become the most powerful person in the world, I'm still going to need some enemies of some sort. And then he's like, you know, maybe the gods will intervene here and send me exactly what I need, because that would be worth it, you know, like me against the gods. So again, with him asking, could I be something more than Caesar? Now he's maybe looking at the gods to be his enemies or bring him some new enemies or something along those lines. So this is very much Sejanus at just about as high in status and power and obnoxiousness. Sorry to put the judgment on it, but obnoxiousness as he could get. And then Terentius comes running in and he's like, oh my God, haven't you heard? Your statue that's in Pompey's theater, there's smoke, there's big black plumes of smoke, like spewing out of your statue. And Sejanus is like, well, you got to go see what's going on. Go to it and take the head off of it and see what's on fire inside the statue, because obviously that's what's spewing out the smoke. So Terentius leaves, but then like 3 lines later, and just 3 very short lines, so like 4 seconds later, he comes back in with Satrius and Nata, and Satrius is like, I already know what's inside because I saw it. Somebody already took the head off of it, and as soon as they took the head off, this massive, monstrous serpent came out, and they're all like, what? And Nata's like, yeah, I saw it too. Like, definitely this big, ugly, venomous snake crawled out of the statue. And Terentius is like, how on earth could that have gotten there? Maybe by the gods or something like that? And Sejanus is like, no, like, you silly man, thinking that this is an omen of something bad to come, except he uses the word prodigy, but essentially an omen. He's like, this isn't an omen. Like, you're the sort of person that's going to see signs in everything. Like the fact that my bed broke this morning, or the fact that a cat ran between my legs. Like, if this is an omen, then those are omens too. And Terentius is going to have some thoughts on that in tomorrow's monologue. So I'll see you then. Mwah.